Here we go. It's me, not Mario. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Deanna, and I am streaming out of Humboldt County, about Humboldt County, to Humboldt County, and anybody else who cares. And we are going through an excellent study here called The 5,000 Year Leap. And we're going through principles that our foundation was built upon, which are very godly and true and wonderful. Thank you guys for joining me. A lot of you joined me later, which is cool, and I do appreciate that. Hi, Star. Good to see you. Good morning. We are learning, we're doing a review, and we're doing a reading, and we're doing a quiz. So we're doing all these things. And I'm stopping to say, Hi, Jen. Good to see you, love. I've been praying for you both, actually. Oh, my goodness. My reading this morning was so intense. It was Acts 7 through 9. So much stuff happened. First, St. Stephen gets stoned. Then Philip gets transported. Did you know there is teleportation that happens with God's people? Yes, Philip was transported after he baptized the eunuch in the middle of the desert. Then Paul gets blinded and loses his sight. Then the apostles raise up a dead woman. I mean, I was just like, wow, this is a great read this morning. So I am trudging through, not trudging, that's the wrong word, plowing through, because I'm enjoying my reading. I love to read, you guys. Acts right now. So I'm almost finished with the Bible all the way through. I've done the New Testament many, many times, but I've certainly gotten bogged down in the Old Testament a bunch. And so now I'm not. I'm getting through. So I have everything ready for us to just get started. I don't want to have a long monologue or anything. Just want to get through this. It's Friday. Yay. How exciting. It doesn't mean too very much, but church on Sunday. I love church. I love my church. And let's see, what else is going on? Well, I really do want to come back and do another stream. I have a lot of things I want to talk about. But with this, I really try to stay hard with just what we're doing here. Oh, I know what I was going to do. Give Star a wrench if she's still here. Well, she doesn't have to stay, but just make her blue. Let's make you blue, Star. There you go. Now you'll be blue. Okay, so we are already going through, let's see, we're going to be reading on the 9th principle, but first we're going to do our quiz, and it's just like a review for our reading, which was Wednesday, which was on unalienable rights. Such good stuff. And I will say, when I think about today's day and age, and we go reading about unalienable rights, it's quite astounding to me how many people, even Christian people, are for incarcerating people and taking away their rights based on this or based on that, based on government policies that are not godly whatsoever. It's quite frightening, actually. It's quite frightening. There was a good podcast yesterday Allie Beth Stuckey did with another woman about decriminalizing drugs. And I went to this. No, I need to go somewhere else. Here's where I'm going. And, it's always astounding to hear people talk about how, people should be locked up and they shouldn't be I keep going to the wrong thing. I'm sorry. I need to stop talking and try to do what I'm doing. My brain is just... Get with it, girl. Okay, here we are. Here we are. I want to put this ringer off, too. This is the second time I've gone through this study, but the first time I was going through this study with another big book, which I really love, and I'm missing this one, and I'm going to do this one next, again. The Making of America. This has so much context for what our government was built upon. So we are going to do the quiz on Principle number 8, men are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And I do have the quiz here. Oh, no, that's not it. That is not it. I think it's on this next one. I know it's here. I know it's here. Come on. Come on, girl. There we are. Okay. And then also, I've been kind of forgetting, there's this little review thing that, you know, I could read to you. It tells you what we're going to be learning about. However, it looks like, oh, there it goes. Man's unalienable rights. So the role of revealed law, I should read that after we do our quiz here. Hopefully I won't forget. Okay. Number 1. John Locke concluded, no one has a right to destroy or rule over another because we all have the same unalienable rights. Another word for that is natural rights. Those are established by God. 2, what are the 2 main categories of rights? They are unalienable and vested. What makes a right inalienable? God and nature established that exclusively. 4, give 2 examples of inalienable rights. The right to self-govern, the right to bear arms for self-defense, and those are 2, but I put right for free speech in there as well. 5, what makes a right vested? A vested right was created by the community, state, or nation for the protection of our inalienable rights. 7, what are the 3 great inalienable rights? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Or is it property? We always hear it as life, liberty. I have life, liberty, and property. The pursuit of happiness is tied in with property, as we'll hear in this next question. Why are property rights essential to the pursuit of happiness? Because we have a right to enjoy and develop the benefits of our labor. What is the purpose of vested rights? To protect inalienable rights. 10, put these words and phrases in order of their occurrence. Government, inalienable, and vested. Number 1, inalienable. God-given. 2 is our governments given. Our 3 are vested rights. Right principle of liberty. Men are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. And a couple of my notes I have is here, to interfere with inalienable rights, that individual will answer to God. You who think it's okay to lock people up in prison when they have not actually hurt another individual are wrong. You will stand before God. You will answer to Him. Nobody has a right over anybody else's body. Period. Period. The way people thought during COVID was disgusting. And it still is disgusting. Okay, now we're going to go into the role of revealed law. So here we go. As a result of this lesson, students should be able to discuss the following questions. What is necessary in order for unalienable right to be enforceable? How do unalienable duties relate to unalienable rights in both public and private arenas? Describe God's law of criminal justice. Tell how God's law was considered for many centuries to be the supreme law. And we'll be doing the quiz on that on Monday. We should have, where's my number 9? I know I uploaded it. Maybe I put it in the wrong spot. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Where'd that go? There they are. There they are. Okay. Shoo. I really don't like it when my stuff isn't here. Principle number 9. To protect man's rights, God has revealed certain principles of divine law. Listen up, Pharisees. This one's for you. Rights, though endowed by God as unalienable prerogatives, could not remain unalienable unless they were protected as enforceable rights under a code of divinely proclaimed law. William Blackstone pointed out that the Creator is not only omnipotent, all-powerful, but as he is also a being of infinite wisdom, he has laid down only such laws as were founded in those relations of justice that existed in the nature of things. These are eternal, immutable laws of good and evil to which the Creator himself in all his dispensation conforms, and which he has enabled human reason to discover so far as they are necessary for the conduct of human actions. Such, among others, are these principles: that we should live honestly, should hurt nobody, and should render to everyone his due. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. All things else come from the evil one. That was my addition. Sound principles of law, all based on God's law. Blackstone also said it was necessary for God to disclose these laws to man by direct revelation. The doctrines thus delivered we call the revealed or divine law, and they are to be found only in the Holy Scriptures. These precepts, when revealed, are found upon comparison to be really a part of the original law of nature, as they tend in all their consequence to man's felicity. An analysis of the essential elements of God's code of divine law reveals that it is designed to promote, preserve, and protect man's unalienable rights. This divine pattern of law for human happiness requires a recognition of God's supremacy over all things. That man is specifically forbidden to attribute God's power to false gods, that the name of God is to be held in reverence, and every oath taken in the name of God is to be carried out with the utmost fidelity. Otherwise, the name of God would be taken in vain. That there is also a requirement that one day each week be set aside for the study of God's law. That it is also to be a day of worship and the personal renewing of one's commitment to obey God's law for happy living. That there are also requirements to strengthen family ties by children honoring parents and parents maintaining the sanctity of their marriage and not committing adultery after marriage. That human life is also to be kept sacred, that he who willfully and wantonly takes the life of another must forfeit his own, that a person shall not lie, that a person shall not steal, that every person must be willing to work for the things, desires from life, and not covet and scheme to get the things which belong to his neighbor. These principles will be immediately recognized as the famous Ten Commandments. There are many additional laws set forth in the Bible which clarify and define these principles. Divine law endows mankind with unalienable duties as well as unalienable rights. This is a very quick read, by the way. There's only a couple more pages here. In recent years, the universal emphasis on rights has seriously obscured the unalienable duties which are imposed upon mankind by divine law. As Thomas Jefferson said, man has no natural right in opposition to his social duties. There are two kinds of duties, public and private. Public duties relate to public morality and are usually supported by local or state ordinances, which can be enforced by the police power of the state. Private duties are those which exist between the individual and his creator. These are called principles of private morality. The only enforcement agency is the self-discipline of the individual himself. William Blackstone was referring to public and private morality when he said, "Let a man therefore be ever so abandoned in his principles or vicious in his practice, provided he keeps his wickedness to himself and does not offend against the rules of public decency, he is out of the reach of human laws. But if he makes his vices public, though they be such as seem principally to affect himself, as drunkenness or the like, then they become, by the bad example they set, of pernicious effects to society, and therefore it is then the business of human laws to correct them. Public sobriety is a relative duty relative to other people, and therefore enjoyed by our laws. Private sobriety is an absolute duty, which, Whether it is performed or not, human tribunals can never know, and therefore they can never enforce it by any civil sanction. In a sense, we could say that our unalienable duties, both public and private, are an inherent part of natural law. They constitute a responsibility imposed on each individual to respect the absolute rights or unalienable rights of others. Examples of public and private duties. Here are some of the more important responsibilities which the Creator has imposed on every human being of normal mental capacity. 1. The duty to honor the supremacy of the Creator and His laws. As Blackstone states, the Creator's law is the supreme law of the world. This law of nature, being coeval with mankind and dictated by God Himself, is of course superior in obligation to any other. It is binding over all the globe in all countries and at all times. No human laws are of any validity if contrary to this. 2. The duty not to take the life of another except in self-defense. 3. The duty not to steal or destroy the property of another. 4. The duty to be honest in all transactions with others. 5. The duty of children to honor and obey their parents and elders. 6. The duty of parents and elders to protect, teach, feed, clothe, and provide shelter for children. 7. The duty to support law and order to keep the peace. 8. The duty not to contrive through a covetous heart to despoil another. 9. The duty to provide, insofar as possible, for the needs of the helpless, the sick, the crippled, the injured, the poverty-stricken. 10. The duty to honorably perform contracts and covenants both with God and man. 11. The duty to be temperate. 12. The duty to become economically self-sufficient. 13. The duty not to trespass on the property or privacy of another. 14. The duty to maintain the integrity of the family structure. 16. The duty to perpetuate the race. That was 15. 16. The duty not to promote or participate in the vices which destroy personal and community life. 17. The duty to perform civic responsibilities, vote, assist public officials, serve in official capacities when called upon, stay informed on public issues, volunteer where needed. 18. The duty not to aid or abet those involved in criminal or antisocial activities. 19. The duty to support personal and public standards of common decency. 20. The duty to follow rules of moral rectitude. The Creator's superior law of criminal justice. The Creator revealed a divine law of criminal justice, which is far superior to any kind being generally followed in the world today. I'm going to repeat that. The Creator revealed a divine law of criminal justice, which is far superior to any kind being generally followed in the world today. This is a most important element of God's revealed law, and let us therefore emphasize it again, even though we discussed it earlier. It will be recalled that God's revealed law provided true justice by requiring the criminal to completely restore the property he had stolen or to otherwise pay the damages for the losses he had caused. It was the law of reparation, repairing the damage. In addition, the criminal had to pay his victim punitive damages for all the trouble he had caused. This was also to remind him not to do it again. This system of justice through reparation was practiced by the ancient Israelites and also the Anglo-Saxons. In recent years, a number of states have begun to adopt the reparation system. This requires the judge to call in the victim and consult with him or her before passing sentence. This discussion includes the possibility of the criminals working to pay back the damages he caused his victim. If the criminal is too irresponsible to be trusted to get a job and repay his victim, then he is given a heavy prison term with the provision that he cannot be considered for parole until he will guarantee full cooperation in repayment to his victim. The state of Utah recently adopted such a law. Judges are required to have offenders indemnify their victims for damages whenever possible. You can check for that law on the Secretary of State Utah Capitol building. Should taxpayers compensate victims of crimes? In some states, the victims of criminal activities may apply to the state for damages. This most unfortunate policy is a counterproductive procedure which encourages crime rather than deters it. It encourages a bandit to say to his victim, "Don't worry, mister, you'll get it all back from the state." Now we must respond to one final question concerning God's revealed law of true justice. What if a law is passed by Congress or some legislation which is contrary to God's law? What then? Can you say Biden? God's law, the supreme law of the land. Among the Anglo-Saxons and the ancient Israelites, the law enunciated by God was looked upon as sacred and not subject to change by human legislative bodies. In his authoritative text titled English Constitutional and Legal History, Dr. Colin Rice Lovell of the University of Southern California writes this concerning the Anglo-Saxons. To most Anglo-Saxons, the law was either divinely inspired or the work of their ancestors, being of such antiquity that it was unthinkable that it should be changed. Alfred the Great was one of the few rulers of the period who issued new laws, but he too regarded the body of traditional Anglo-Saxon law as sacred and God-given. Dr. Lovell explains the attitude of the Anglo-Saxon race towards their divine code of law. He says they considered it immutable. Even the all-powerful tribal assembly had no legislative power, and this theory of legislative impotence endured for a long time in the development of the English Constitution and disappeared only very gradually. Even many centuries later, the fiction that specific legislation was not making new law but reinforcing ancient customs was preserved. Most of the great steps forward in the development of the English Constitution have been taken with loud assertions that nothing new was being contemplated. Only the old was being restored. We are restoring, not reforming. Natural law constitutes eternal principles. Even when it was finally acknowledged that Parliament was writing new statutes and dealing with problems not mentioned in the law of ancient times, it was still required that none of the new laws contradict the provisions of divine law. John Locke set forth the principle which carried over into the thinking of the American founders when he wrote, "The law of nature stands as an eternal rule to all men, legislatures as well as others. The rules that they make for man's actions must be conformable to the law of nature, example to the will of God." Sir William Blackstone, contemporary of the founders, wrote, "Man, considered as a creature, must necessarily be subject to the laws of his creator. This will of his maker is called the law of nature. This law of nature being co-equal," I think it should say co-equal, but I don't know that word. I should have looked it up. Co-equal with man, and dictated by God himself, is of course superior in obligation to any other. It is binding all over the globe and in all countries and at all times. No human laws are of any validity if contrary to this. To what? To the laws of God, to the laws of our Creator. What is that word? Co-equal. I gotta look that up really quick. Co-equal. And I'm probably saying it wrong. Coeval, having the same age or date of origin, contemporary. These lavas were coeval with the volcanic activity. A person of roughly the same age as oneself, a contemporary. Like so many of his coevals, he yearned for stability. It's not E. Coval. It's probably coval, because the E is, I think, is silent. There's not a line above it, so I shouldn't be saying E. But who will decide? When it comes to lawmaking, the nations of most of the world throughout history have been subject to the whims and arbitrary despotism of kings, emperors, rulers, and magistrates. How can the people be protected from the autocratic authority of their rulers? Where does the source of sovereign authority lie? The founders had strong convictions on this point. Well, usually it says, which takes us to our next principle, but I don't see that there. I want to go to the state constitution of California. Mr. was talking about, where's my notebook? About how the declaration, it's not really the preamble, but the beginning of state constitutions have so much power in them. Very similar to our Declaration of Independence. He said most people don't read that, but let's read these. Declaration of Rights. California, 1849. We, the people of California, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom, in order to secure its blessings, do establish this Constitution. Article 1, Declaration of Rights. All men are by nature free and independent, and have certain inalienable rights, among which are those of enjoying and defending life and liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and pursuing and obtaining safety and happiness. Let's see, how long is this? How many are these? Okay. Yeah, let's read some. The right of trial by jury shall be secured to all and remain inviolate forever. But a jury trial may be waived by the parties in all civil cases in the manner to be prescribed by law. Did I skip two? I skipped two. All political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for the protection, security, and benefit of the people, and they have the right to alter or reform the same whenever the public good may require it. Why, there it is, right there, Devil Dog. That's my New Hampshire. It's Article 1, Section 10, right of revolution. Isn't that right there, the same thing? Section 3. The right of trial by jury shall be secured to all and remain inviolate forever, but a jury trial may be waived by the parties in all civil cases in the manner prescribed by law. I already read that, sorry. 4. The free exercise and enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination or preference shall forever be allowed in this state, and no person shall be rendered incompetent to be a witness on account of his opinions on matters of religious belief. But the liberty of conscience, hereby secured, shall not be so construed as to excuse acts of licentiousness or justify practices inconsistent with the peace or safety of this state. And then we're going on to a lot more. I'm not going to read all of this, but I do want to read a scripture to you that came to mind while I was reading. It's in Romans, and it's where I was at. I think a lot of people have been here at some time. If you were ever ungodly, I want the whole chapter. So it's right in the beginning. And a lot of people that they do not believe in God, but what they do is this. And I'm going to start in 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Because what may be known of God is manifest in them. The truth is in your heart, you know. For God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. The heavens declare the glory of God. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man, birds, and four-footed animals, and creeping things. Therefore God also gave them up to uncleanness in the lust of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies among themselves, who exchanged the truth of God for the lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. The warning is here. For this reason God gave them up to vile passions. For even their women exchange the natural use for what is against nature. Likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust for one another, men with men, committing what is shameful, and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error which was due. And even if they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a debased mind to do those things which are not fitting, being filled with all unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful, who knowing the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only to do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. Anybody ever tell you homosexuality is not in the New Testament? This is in the New Testament. I knew that sin. I repented of it. This world is perverted and sick and gross, and people that worship the creation rather than the creator do not have the fullness of life they could. I know, because I used to do that. I used to worship the creation, not the creator. There's a big difference there. Most people that don't believe in God just worship themselves. They are God. They are God. You know, that's where our society's at. They took God out of schools and have replaced it with sexual perversion here in Humboldt County. Just go drive by the Jefferson School on B Street. Go have a look-see. It's rainbow. You can see it from the sky probably. Rainbow stairs, rainbow everything. And it ain't God's rainbow they're painting it up either, let me tell you. They took God out of schools and put this perversion in there. And what do we got? Evil abounding everywhere. People don't even think about God. Can't even say a moment of silence in school anymore, have a prayer. But we do sure got a lot of government worship, don't we? We got a lot of government worship. Even the Christians. It's the most disappointing thing when I learn and share and read about our unalienable rights. I cannot help but think of those who are okay with this criminal justice system. It is so evil. People that support this they will stand before God. We need law and order. We need people to enforce our laws. Our laws are there to protect our inalienable rights, our unalienable rights. Is that what our laws are looking like? Not really. Not really. Let's see. Look what I found, Jen. Found my little book, but of course I don't have a bookmark in it. Prayer for deliverance from evil. Perfect. That's what we need. I'm going to read this little tiny prayer and get out of here with you guys. And maybe, just maybe, I'll be back this weekend. I sure hope to be. I want to share some of the stand-up people in Humboldt County that spoke at the city council meeting last week and the board of supervisor meeting. Strangely and oddly enough, there was no board of supervisor meeting again this week. I think it was skipped a couple weeks ago as well. It's kind of weird. A lot of flights coming in from McClellan Air Force Base. Oh, I did see a video about how there haven't been planes at that base for 20 years. And the neighborhood's noticing. Of course, there's a big air show coming up, so that must be what it's for. Prayers for deliverance from evil. Lord, thank you that you are faithful to establish us on solid ground and guard us from the evil one. Show us any way in which we have invited the enemy in by not living according to your will. America, Lord Jesus, you have said that everyone practicing evil hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his deeds should be exposed. But he who does the truth comes to the light, that his deeds may be clearly seen, that they have been done in God. Thank you that you are the deliverer who came to set us free from death and hell. Dear Lord, please deliver us from evil this day. In Jesus' name I pray. The Lord will deliver me from every good work and preserve me for his heavenly kingdom. And you too. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and give thee peace. The Lord be gracious unto you. Yeah, that's it. I sure love you guys, and I do hope to see you later. And thank you for being here with this study. I really appreciate you guys that like learning. It's nice to know there's people that still like learning around here. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.